I'm going to leave this reality.
Or point blank, am I going to miscarry this baby? And he's like, you're going to miscarry. And like each time I keep being rushed to the hospital for them to tell me, oh, you went through the pains of labor, but you're going home with nothing. And it just hit me that that is going to happen again. I'm sorry, but it just hit me that it's going to happen again.
And go to one where I can be with my children.
Wanda, your children aren't real. You created them using magic.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I'm gonna cry. Happy birthday, dear Rainy. Happy birthday to you.
That's what every mother does.
All right. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing something different today. So when I started this channel, I had done stuff with my dogs, and then I started a pregnancy journey. But then I ended up having a miscarriage in 2022. And so with the pregnancy of this little girl, I kind of doubled down on recording, like, because I always wanted to do like week by week symptoms and stuff like that, and just how my pregnancy was going the entire time. But after that first miscarriage, I just wanted to protect this one, so I didn't record too many pregnancy videos. I didn't do like a birthing video. I didn't do any of that stuff, and I've actually been wondering if I even wanted her on camera. I don't mind, because I take a lot of pictures. I don't mind sharing her in a safe way. I've been thinking about doing day in the life videos. I watch a lot of them, and kudos to those moms, because I don't know how you wake up in the middle of the night, tired AF, baby screaming in your face for food, and you have time to set up a camera and record. Like, that to me is very overwhelming, just the thought of it. But I just wanted to kind of redo my birthing story, as well as answer some first time mama questions, because this is my first time being a mother. It's not my first time being pregnant, but it definitely is my first time being a mother. It may be my last time being a mother. I don't know. According to my husband, definitely. But I don't know, part of me still would like a little boy someday. A son. So this is my daughter. She is 19 weeks old. If anyone has followed me before, I'm redoing this video because I have a better camera quality and everything. It's not just on Snapchats and then reloading all those. And so I'm kind of wanting to redo it. But I got pregnant in 2022. My husband and I, our story is very interesting. But it's funny because we also didn't believe in marriage in our separate lives. But until we met each other, we started kind of seeing a future together, and that's something I never did with anybody else. And I don't think he really did. Maybe one day he assumed he would get married one day. I never did. So we ended up meeting in I think the tail end of 2018, and then it was a whole journey of us thinking we were dating, and then we weren't dating, and we were just friends, and I appreciated that more because we actually grew a friendship, and then it made me cherish the relationship. And then we went on a cruise in 2021. I believe we got married in November 2021. And then it's so interesting because another thing we never planned on doing in our individual lives was having children. I have had a very dark past. He has had a dark past as well. My dark past is a little bit different because it is more of my own self mutilations more than anything. But as I've deep dived into why, like, yes, definitely wasn't treated the best as a child. And same with him. And so we've just kind of talked about it, like, well, if we were to ever have a kid, just like we would want to do better if we ever did, hypothetically, we would want to do better by that child than we had, than our lives were. So I don't know, it kind of, and because of all the self-mutilation I'd done to myself in the past, I was really worried I was infertile, not only because of the self stuff I did, but I was pregnant at 17 as well, and had a miscarriage that I didn't even know I was pregnant. I went to the hospital for a completely different reason, due to an outside force hurting me, and in that time they were like, oh, by the way, you lost the baby. And I'm like, what baby? Like, what? I had no idea, and I definitely was not trying at that time. So it's always made me wonder. And then with the self-hate journey I went on, where I did harm my body internally and externally, I did wonder if I was even fertile, if I was even able to, because it really threw off my cycles. I only have, even now, and I'll talk about this later, but postpartum, I still, since that very first pregnancy at 17, have only had 2-day periods, and it is normal to have 3-day periods. So I felt like something was very off track, and I went to a OB that was highly recommended, and I ended up having kidney stones. And my urologist, interestingly enough, said he thought, he's not an OB, but he's like, and I trust him I wish he could be my OB. I wish he could be my doctor for everything. But he's like, I think you're completely healthy. Because I asked him, I was like, yeah, with this, I probably will never be able to have a kid, right? I never would have been before this, but definitely with these kidney stone situations, I probably will never be able to have a kid. And he's like, I think you're completely healthy. And he's like, you're actually healthier than most women your age. And I was like 20 something at that time, 26 maybe. So I was like, oh, okay. And I kept that in the back of my head. But just to make sure, once my husband and I started talking about having a baby, I went to the OB that was highly recommended. And she was like, yeah, you're completely healthy. Like, you could be able to have a baby, obviously. Like, not obviously, because it's been a journey for a lot of women. Because I honestly had joined, like, an infertility group and all that stuff because I really believed I was going to be infertile and this journey was going to be a lot longer. So I'm very thankful that we were able to get pregnant as many times as we did, and then to have a very successful pregnancy and happy, healthy baby. I'm so thankful for that. I don't take it for granted, and I do feel for every woman who goes through infertility. Like, I honestly, this whole scenario has made me think about doing something in either nursing, OB, even the sonograms, just anything to deal with pregnancies. I love helping pregnant women. I have some friends now who are pregnant, and I just love hearing their journeys and trying to help out as much as I can. I'm a dog groomer, by the way. So she gave me the green light, and I was like, okay. And so when we were talking about, like, oh, if we ever were to have a baby, I started feeling like I want to have a baby. And I think that's all I said to him one day. I was just like, I want to have a baby. And my husband's very funny, because I'll be like, I want to see this movie, and then, like, he'll say okay, but then when the movie comes around, he's like, I never said that. So I had him, like, write it on a note that in September 2022 we would start trying to have a baby. But even though we got pregnant really quickly, I did end up miscarrying that pregnancy on Thanksgiving Day of 2022. And I have a whole thing about that. I'm not going to relive that whole story. I guess I'll go ahead and link that very raw video down below. Like, this was like not really me. Again, I was wanting to do like a whole pregnancy, week by week journey with that pregnancy. So when it was a miscarriage, like, it's very raw, my emotions. I think it's just a couple days after the miscarriage. that I talked about it. So we had planned to get pregnant again in February, to start trying again in February 2023, meaning I would track, meaning he won't pull out, stuff like that. That's been the only birth control method we have. I just don't want to go on birth control and unalign my system because my body's gone through a lot. And I just don't want to risk doing anything harmful to it. So, yeah, we were just doing the pull-out method. And after any kind of birth, whether it be a miscarriage or birth itself, when your body actually goes through that, because I did fully labor and everything with my miscarriage, you're very highly fertile. And I should have been more careful, but it's all good. Because even though we planned to try it in February 2023, I got pregnant again in January of 2023. And I actually found out on my mom's birthday. Went out to, I tell the story of that too in another video, but I went out to dinner with my sister and was actually going to drink alcohol that night because I was feeling really sad. And as we were at dinner, this little baby, a little older than her, a little toddler, came up to us and was just like, what? You know, like being a cute little toddler. And I just broke down. I just started crying. And the mom comes over and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's not your fault. And it's nothing she did or anything like that. I was like, I'm just sensitive right now. And she's like, okay, I'm so sorry. And I was like, it's okay. And I just look at my sister and I'm like, God, I just want to have a baby. And I don't know, maybe am I forcing a situation? Maybe I'm not meant to be a mom. Maybe that's what this whole thing is if I'm not meant to. I don't, because a lot of people, and I understand, a lot of women, and I found this out the hard way because I kept my first miscarriage a secret because my mom kind of told me that there's certain things you take to your grave. And I was like, that's definitely one of them. I'm going to do that. But I finally told my sister and, of course, my husband. My husband was the first person I told because I was like, I told him when he asked me to date him, not even to marry him. I was like, I need you to know the truth about me. So I told him, told my sister. So I was like, maybe this is just not meant to be for me to be a mom. Maybe it's a good thing because I would suck at being a mom. It's still emotional just thinking that. Sometimes that I thought that of myself. And my sister reassured me. She's like, you're going to be a great mom. And again, I wanted to drink alcohol, but I didn't. So I come home and I'm just like, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to pee on a stick. I have plenty of pregnancy tests. I peed on so many sticks with the pregnancy before her and then with hers, as you probably saw with all that line progression in another video. I'm just going to put it as a playlist of all my pregnancy stuff down below. But I peed on the stick and oh my God, there is a line. And I was like, what the heck? And I got excited but cautious. And I was like, should I even share this information? And I like what one of my friends from work said to me. She's like, whether it lasts or not, right now you're happy. Right now this is a celebratory thing. And if it doesn't go well again, you know we will be here to help you. And I'm like, okay. So I just posted that, like, this is what I see this morning and just hoping for the best. And I got him with a different OB, again, in my miscarriage story. I think in the miscarriage one of the videos prior, I talk all about how I hated my first OB, the one where I had the miscarriage. Instead of putting me on more things, he actually took me off iron, which is silly because I'm anemic. And he's like, oh, you'll build more iron when you're pregnant. But it's like, I'm anemic. Like, what? But I had a different OB this time. And the first OB left. So if she had stayed, I think I would have been great from the get-go. But unfortunately, they had to assign me with a new one that I don't even think I chose. I think they just assigned him to me. So I got to choose my next one. And he was so sweet to me from the start. More honestly, I look for father figures everywhere, I think, and he is so much like a father figure to me. Like, even during her birth, when a not so happy moment happened, he came in and really helped me out, and he looked at me the exact same way when we first met. And when we first met, he's like, we're gonna make this baby stick. I'm gonna do everything in my power to help make this baby stick. And he put me on progesterone, folic acid, and baby aspirin. And of course I was taking prenatals and iron supplements. I was taking a lot, but a lot daily to help have this pregnancy be successful. And I try to make some videos during this pregnancy, but again, I didn't want to do week by week in case the last thing I ever wanted to do was make another, sorry guys, I had a miscarriage video. So, as you can tell, all went well. I'll go over the pregnancy story just a little bit. I've already recorded it, but it is on Snapchat, and it was really difficult. Like, this camera's frustrating because it turns off randomly while I'm recording, but in Snapchat it's like only 1 minute of like however long this might be, and that is going to be so frustrating. So basically, she was due September 30th, 2023, which the first pregnancy was due in July, and July 2nd. And so I made my, what is that little thing when everyone comes and celebrates with you? Baby shower. The baby shower on July 2nd, because I know myself. I knew I'd be sitting around sad, mourning the loss of that first pregnancy. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think about the first miscarriage I had at 17, because I didn't even know about that one, and it wasn't planned. But although I have a happy, healthy baby, it does not take away the potential life that first baby was. And I can't help but still feel kind of guilty that I wasn't taking the best care of myself still. And I know miscarriages sometimes just happen just to happen, but I'm not going to go in full depth, but there's some things I just wasn't doing correctly still, mainly energy drinks and stuff like that, and then having a panic attack on top of it just didn't help, because the week I had the panic attack was the week it stopped forming, and then 3 weeks later is when it expelled from my body. But my point there is just that although you have a happy, healthy baby later on, I think every loss and any loss is a loss. And before the miscarriage, I actually also had a chemical pregnancy where I saw a line on a pregnancy test. I got excited, and then like the next day is gone. And so again, it's not, I understand scientifical people who get like, oh, you shouldn't mourn, that wasn't a baby. I get it, it wasn't, but it's the hopes of the baby that could have been. And so you can't take that pain away from someone to just tell them, oh, well, that wasn't a baby. Okay, but still, it was potential. It's getting close to my due date. My husband and I did our own maternity shoot because I just didn't want to spend the money for a maternity shoot. And they turned out really good, I think. So is the week of, and I've told everybody this story, the week of her due date, they also had the movie coming out on September 27th, which was Saw X, Saw 10, the 10th film in the franchise. And I'm a huge Saw fan, and I'm just like, I have to see this movie. I don't care if I deliver her at the theater as a joke. I want to actually do this. But I was like, I'm gonna see that movie. And thankfully it all panned out. I was able to see that movie. No contractions, no nothing. Nothing was really moving along. I think a week before, about a week or two before, I had gone to the emergency room because I was having a lot of cramps, but I had a lot of UTIs, and so I think it was just another severe UTI during this pregnancy. So I was able to see Saw X, no problems, and then on September 30th, there was no signs, so I was doing all the little things. I was like eating pineapple, doing my exercises on my birth ball, and just all this stuff, and going on walks to try to help progress labor. And then on October 1st, I woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I thought I peed myself just a little bit. And I was like, is that my water breaking? Because I know sometimes it's not like in the movies. I've been watching week by week pregnancy stuff, and they're like, sometimes it's not like in the movies. And it won't be a huge gush. So I'm like, okay, let me go to the bathroom and see what's going on. And I kind of felt like it was my water breaking, because even after I peed, there was still some, like, it still felt like I was peeing. So I was like, that's weird. And I told my husband, and he's like, okay, let's go to the store. I wasn't going on outside walks just because I think at that time, I think I was just lazy. I was really tired. So we went to the store, and I felt like I was peeing the whole freaking time. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is my water breaking. Which is kind of confusing, because some videos said if your water breaks, it is not a reason to run to the emergency room like how they show in the movies. So I was just chilling all day. And then I started doing more research and trying to time any contractions. I really didn't have any contractions to time, though. But Jeff was like, okay, I'm going to make spaghetti for dinner. Do you want me to start dinner? It was around 7 o'clock at night. And I was like, before we have dinner, let me just call up to labor and delivery and just make sure. And I told them I was leaking some liquid, and I wasn't sure if it was amniotic fluid or not. And you're like, yeah, come on up and let's make sure it's amniotic fluid, just to make sure, because if you let it go too long, you could actually get an infection. I'm like, okay, this is different than what the videos told me. So we go up and we get, they're testing the fluid. And in the time it's taking them to test the fluid, I'm researching more stuff on my phone, where a lot of people say that it could just be discharge. And I'm like, okay, I just wasted our whole visit again up here. But it's not a big deal. The doctor, the place I was delivering at was only 5 minutes away. But still. But they came back. So right when I'm like, okay, it must just be discharge and I'm wasting everyone's time, they're like, nope, it's amniotic fluid, and we're gonna admit you into triage. And I was like, oh shit, it's happening. Okay, cool. So I let my sister know. Well, I have Jeff let my sister know and post on Facebook. I didn't want to be on my phone. I didn't want to be, not bothered, but I just didn't want to, like, I usually, if you guys are on my Snapchat, I can link my Snapchat below, but if you guys watch that, I usually post a lot of stuff on there about my life. So I didn't want to post anything. I didn't want to say anything. And I didn't want to message certain people and then other people be like, oh, she didn't reach out to me. So I only messaged my sister. And she lives in our neighborhood, so she's only like 2 minutes away too. So, and she ended up being there for the birthing and everything as well. 7 o'clock, we go up there. And I feel kind of bad because my husband was like, oh, I'm probably going to come back home so I can sleep tonight. And I should have just let him, in hindsight, I should have just been like, okay, cool. If something changes, obviously keep your phone on you. I'll call you. You're only 2 minutes away. It's fine. But I got like super like anxious, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm delivering a baby by myself. So he felt guilty. So he stayed with me. And I felt bad because I didn't have the baby that night. And I don't think any of us got any sleep. Because they kept coming in to check on me all the time. Every like 30 minutes, I think. But And I can sleep. I can sleep in 30 minutes. Like, I take quick power naps, but he's not like that. He's like the type of person, he's awake, and when he's asleep, he's asleep. Like, don't bother him, because if he wakes up again, he can't go back to sleep. So he got no sleep that night. I barely got any sleep that night. And didn't have the baby. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt, even still to this day, a little disappointed in my body, because it took until the next day, the 2nd, October 2nd, that I had only dilated to 5 centimeters. And I was in a lot of pain. And even though I was like, okay, I'll do natural birth, but if I have to get an epidural or if I have to get cesarean, I'm up for that. But it was beginning to hurt a lot. And I wanted to do natural because, you know, I don't know, I think women are amazing that we can do this, and that we are strong mother effers that can birth babies. And back in the day, they didn't have epidurals, and I don't know, I just wanted to be respectful, mindful of that. And I've been through a lot. I've been through kidney stones. I've been through just a lot worse things with my body, you know. And they even said with the kidney stones, like, wow, if you can go through this, you can definitely handle giving birth. So I'm like, yeah, dope. So I want to be that tough person. And I could have been, and I would have been. And obviously I just had a miscarriage like a few months ago. So it's like I knew, but obviously that is completely different than a baby. But I knew the pain levels it was going to be at. And it started feeling like that all over again. Except I wasn't upset and I didn't throw a fit, because with the miscarriage, I think obviously the thing that hurt the most was I'm going through all this just to go home empty-handed again. And so I wasn't as upset this time. It just was really hurting. And Jeff made a really good point. He's like, I know you want to be tough. And I get that. However, this may be our only baby. This is probably going to be our only baby. Don't you want to actually enjoy it? So I was like, yeah, kind of. He has a point. So I did end up getting an epidural. The only person in my doctor's care I did not care for was the anesthesiologist, who talked about me as if I wasn't in the room, as if I was in front of her. Was telling the nurse in front of me when she was putting the epidural in, oh, she's crooked. Oh, I wish she could sit up straight. Oh, her back is just so blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm right here. I can move. And then I actually fell while still being pregnant, because she asked me to get up just to turn around in the bed, when I could have just turned around in the bed, or she could have helped me turn around in the bed. But obviously I can't feel the bottom half of my body. And she's asking me to get out of bed. I've never had an epidural before. And so I get out of bed and I fall straight to the floor. And the anesthesiologist backs up away from me. And my sister, who's across the room, had to come and grab me and pick me up. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I mean, I don't feel it, but yeah, I can tell that was a hard hit to the ground, and I'm probably going to bruise. And yeah, I had a gnarly bruise on my knee. And the anesthesiologist is just like, I don't know why that happened. That was so weird. I'm like, probably because I'm fucking numb, you dumb bitch. Like, sorry, but she really pissed me off. She also try to make me feel guilty for getting an epidural so early. And just a lot of stuff. She just, oh yeah. And then so, I think around like 7-ish o'clock, I started having really bad fever. I don't even know what temperature I was. I just started noticing I started shaking. And oh my gosh, if I didn't know what I was feeling, and I was someone who wasn't me, and I was just looking at me, I probably looked like I was having a seizure, because I was just shaking nonstop. And I've had fevers before, and I know fever is a sign of labor. I had a fever during a miscarriage as well. And that was actually kind of cool, because even though it was a really traumatic event, I was having a fever, but I just started binge watching the MCU again. And so I was watching Iron Man and fell asleep. And then when I woke up, the fever was gone. But this time, The fever was so bad, I was chattering my teeth. I was scared I was going to shatter my teeth. I couldn't stop. Like, even with the miscarriage one, is like, okay, I'm having a fever, but I'm able to, control how much I'm shaking. This one, no, not at all. It was scary. I was scaring myself, like, and it lasted for a while. And again, the anesthesiologist was just so rude during that. She's like, whatever. She was just rude. And then, baby ended up passing a bowel movement. And I've done a lot of research, and every video says if your baby passes a bowel movement, meconium, in the system, that is an automatic. You're most likely, you need to be rushed into a cesarean section. You need to go right now. And these nurses are acting like little nimnodes. Let's just call them nimnodes to be nice. And she's like, she just nonchalantly tells the next nurse, oh, by the way, the baby passed a bowel movement. She passed meconium. And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, what? Like, I heard that. Like, if she passed meconium, isn't that like an emergency? They're like, nah, it's just a little bit. It's fine. She passed a meconium, and then I had a fever, which is like, put two and two together, y'all. Like, what? And then the frustrating thing, I understand nurses can't tell you everything. And I understand they're trying not to freak you out, but not being told when I know something's wrong freaks me the F out. So she's like turning the monitor away from me. And my sister can see my temperature spiking, baby's temperature spiking, and heartbeat. I think her heartbeat was going really fast. And I'm like, what is wrong? Something's wrong, right? And they're like, I'm going to get a doctor. I'm like, bitch, just tell me what's wrong. Like, I know there's something wrong. Just what? And they're like, we're going to go reach out to your doctor. And I'm like, yeah, you better. Like, sorry, I was very beginning to get cranky. Because I knew we should probably have been in the operating room by now. And they come back and they're like, yeah, your doctor thinks that you should probably have a cesarean. We know you don't want to. And I was like, it's fine. I never wrote down a lot of the week by week videos of like how to prepare for birth. They say like, oh, sit down with their doctor and write a birth plan. We never did that. Basically, my birth plan was try to do as natural as possible. If I had to have an epidural, fine. If I had to have a C-section, fine. Whatever it took to get her here happy and healthy. And that's everything that happened. I ended up getting an epidural. And then they're like, okay, you have to have a C-section. I'm like, dope, let's do it. But I was so tired, I guess, from laboring or just being there all day. I don't even know if you could consider that laboring because I never pushed or anything like that. I was never dilated enough to do that. But just being there all day and doing that all day, I guess my body was just tired. My body's always tired. I'm a dog groomer. Being tired is just part of who I am at this point. But I ended up falling asleep during the cesarean. I could feel myself going to sleep when they were like wheeling me in there. And my sister couldn't be in there. And Jeff could, but at first they're like, oh, I guess he had his own little journey if he had to wait until a certain time to come in. But I just lost track of what was happening, and I could feel myself like going, and I just felt like the anesthesiologist especially would be mad at me if I fell asleep. Because she kept asking me pointless questions. I don't even know what she was asking, but I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And she's like, you still awake? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to go to sleep. Guys, I passed out. I passed the fuck out. And I woke up. And it's so funny because in like all these videos, I researched every kind of birth. And all these women who had cesarean births, I see them all awake. And, their husbands are there. They have the blue tarp up. And then they bring baby over, do skin to skin. It's a beautiful moment. No, man, I was like passed out. And I wake up and I see Jeff next to me. And the lady is like one of the nurses, or it was the anesthesiologist. I have no idea. But I wake up and I'm so groggy. And I'm strapped to the freaking the freaking bed. This is not the first time I've woken up on a hospital bed strapped. I like hate being restrained, and I hate, I guess, when I'm asleep, my body does whatever it wants to do, and that's actually kind of going down to her too, because she moves a lot at night. But they had restraints on me, and I wake up, and I'm so groggy. I'm like, what happened? And they're like, honey, you had a baby. And I'm like, what? I did? And I see the blue tarp, and I'm like, okay, this is like the video. It's like, I'm gonna see my baby, I'm gonna have my baby skin to skin, like, oh, it's a beautiful moment here. And I see this cute little baby, just literally, like, obviously it's her. But they're like, yeah, you had a baby. And I was like, I did? And I just see this cute little baby. So here's like the blue tarp, and they're just like, wait! I'm like, what? Like, that's so weird. There's like a little baby. And then I just passed out again, didn't I? Yeah. I passed out again. And I don't wake up until, well, I wake up after everything, and I guess Jeff went with her to go, I don't know, do her levels and all that stuff. I didn't see her again until 2 hours later. But I did wake up again, and I was apologizing to my doctor and the lady who was helping stitch me back up. And I was like, I'm so sorry I fell asleep. And she's like, honey, it's okay. It's completely normal. It's not like you didn't have a long day. I'm like, you're not mad at me? Like, I really thought they'd be mad at me. But anyway, so then I'm in the recovery room, postpartum room, and that's when they wheel her in, and they bring her to me, and, you know, we do skin to skin and all this stuff. And huge tip for anyone wanting to breastfeed, that's a whole thing. We're gonna get into it, but the whole thing, start trying to hand express colostrum before the baby gets there. Start harvesting your colostrum before your baby gets there, because I got behind. I did not start doing this until after baby was here. No one really taught me how to do it. They're more so just trying to teach me how to get her to latch, but like, I don't know. I don't know. It just, she did latch. She did eat a bit. And she was doing really good. And then the next day, my doctor had to be fatherly with me again, because her blood sugar was low and she was not regulating her temperature. And they kept coming in, checking, and it's funny because in all the videos I watched, they said after you give birth, you won't get sleep because they'll be in and out of your room. Jeff and I got more sleep the night she was born, and then, but the next morning, but they still kept coming in and checking on her. And I feel like that's why, because they were checking on her, not checking on me and waking me up. So I was fine. I just kept sleeping. I sleep a lot, sorry. I have like opposite of my husband's problem. He's an insomniac and he can't get to sleep. I have the opposite of that, and I sleep way too much. But anyway, but the next day, so her blood sugar was low and she could not regulate her temperature. So they came in and told us around noon that, because they're like, we're going to test it one more time, but if any of those numbers are off, she's going to be sent to the NICU. And I didn't realize what all that meant. I thought they had a NICU there on site, because this wife picked this hospital because it's only 2 minutes away from my house, and we don't have to drive with a newborn baby, or like miles with the newborn baby. But unfortunately, she did have to be taken to the NICU, and that NICU is in downtown in a different place than where our, so they were gonna have to transfer her to a different hospital, and it's about 20 minutes away, and honestly not the best part of town. And I remember I told the ambulance people, I was like, you guys drive safely. And they're like, oh yes, for sure. Like, I don't know, I say that because when I was in ambulance for my kidney situation, when my kidneys were shutting down, I didn't get the care I was supposed to have gotten. They were supposed to keep me on fluids, and they didn't. They were incompetent. They were teenagers that were just flirting with each other, and they did not even give me the liquid. They tried, and they weren't able to provide it. So they're just like, oh well. And they kept bumping me into all the walls when we got to the hospital. It just was a whole thing. So I just wanted them to take care of her. But it was very emotional. Literally just giving birth to her, only having her for a night and half a day, and then she's being taken away. And I had to tell myself I knew it was okay. I knew it was for the best. But I was not understanding why. I didn't understand why they couldn't do it. I don't understand why that was happening. And of course, the number one thing, my number one fear has always been, I get this far in a pregnancy, I give birth to her, and I still come home empty-handed. And my doctor knew that. And this is when he comes in, very fatherly to me, and he says, he sits on the bedside with me, and he's like, I know this is hard for any mom to go through. He's like, but I definitely know why this is even harder for you. I have known your story from the beginning. I have been so invested in taking care of your baby and also you. He's like, we have to make sure that she is okay. We could keep her here and put a Band-Aid fix on it. But then you would go home and most likely have to come back in an emergency because something's happening and we wouldn't know how to fix it and we'd have to fix it later. Let's just get it all fixed, figured out. It's going to be hard. And plus, you're still my patient and I still have to take care of you. And he's like, and I want the best for both of you. I care so much for both of you. And he just talked to me more than just a doctor, and I absolutely loved him so much as my doctor. And so I had to be okay with it, because what else are you gonna do? She was put in a NICU. She was born Monday. She was put in a NICU Tuesday, and I was released, I believe, Wednesday. So it was really hard coming home, and I did not tell people. On Facebook I posted about her birth, but I did not post about the NICU situation, and it was really hard that night hearing babies around us, Jeff and I hearing them crying, and it's like we don't have our baby. And it was really hard still getting comments on Facebook, oh, congratulations, oh, blah, blah, so happy. And I'm like, I don't even have this baby. Like, I don't know, I just felt like, it felt weird. But I hadn't even told my mom. I hadn't even talked to my mom, because her and I had like been in such a weird funk, because her and my sister are in a weird funk. And so I had to overcome that and talk to her. And I was like, hey, I know a lot's going on, but just to let you know for sure, not only did I have the baby, but also she's in the NICU. And she still took the opportunity to kind of get on to me about life for some reason, about the whole my sister situation and stuff. And I was like, I'm out of that. I don't care. I have a baby right now. I have like more shit on my plate than your all's drama. I know they say save the drama for your mom, and I usually do, but no, not when I have a baby in the world. Like, that I'm worried about. That's in the freaking NICU. Like, no. So, we went and visited her and fed her, and this is where, with the breastfeeding journey, it takes a turn. Not only, so I took it positively that she was in the NICU learning. She's eating breast milk there, and I was learning how to pump and how to hand express colostrum and harvest it and all that stuff. Again, learn that before baby gets here, because it's hard afterwards. But I was like, okay, I'm learning, she's learning, we'll get back together, and it'll be this beautiful, harmonious thing. I wish. Because she was latching just fine beforehand, but they obviously introduced a bottle to her, and so that changed the dynamic of the game. But we went and visited her, and then she was released to us Friday. And I was so worried they were going to keep her over the weekend. But thankfully they released her Friday. And so, and Jeff's grandma was like, I want to come visit you guys Sunday. We're like, we literally just picked her up, so we want to get settled in. And I don't know how women are like, they have people in and out of their house as soon as they have a baby. Like, we still are trying to get a routine. The only one who's really come and visited us has been my sister, really, in the house. But I mean, that was even before the baby, but still. We got her back Friday, and again, they had been bottle feeding her. So this is where, this is no longer just a birth story. This is now into the breastfeeding journey, which, and exclusively pumping journey. Let me go ahead and put that out there. Oh, about my recovery too. They had me just sitting on the bed with these like weighted restraints on my, I think weighted socks. I was like, fuck the weighted socks. I took them off and I started walking around the room because I was like, I knew the sooner I started walking, the sooner I would most likely be able to go home. Because if you're not walking, you're not building your strength. So I'm like, I want to get home. I hate being places like that. And my husband was going back and forth from the hospital to our house to check on the dogs and take them out and stuff like that. But anyway, oh, and my last meal was one of my favorites, Slim Chicken's Buffalo Tender Mac bowl. It only comes out seasonally, so that was my last meal before giving birth. And then my first meal after giving birth, I wanted it to be sushi from my favorite sushi place, Wafu. And that was my first meal after the miscarriages. So bittersweet, because I was like, when I thought that pregnancy was going good, I was like, I want my first meal to be Wafu. And I had it all ordered and all in line. And so after the miscarriage, it was like, I still want my first meal to be Wafu. I don't have a baby, but I can eat sushi again. I know it's so fucked up. I have to find a silver lining. So that was the silver lining there. But it was actually Hawaiian Brothers, which is a little Hawaiian place up here in town. And that was my first meal after giving birth. But so they're bottle feeding her. And I had just learned about colostrum and hand expressing. I had taken some online breastfeeding classes, but I think the only thing that could have been taught a little better is to, like I said, start hand expressing before the baby gets here, because that is super important, isn't it? Because little Nugget here was latching when I was in the hospital. But after we got back together, and I was like, oh, it's going to be so easy. She no longer cared for the boob. And they keep saying, like, it's even okay to keep trying. I could technically try today, honestly. And some people are like, I've exclusively pumped, and then at like 4 months, magically their baby will start latching. I don't really want her to latch now because I'm back to doing my 8-hour job. So I don't know how people breastfeed on the boob with an 8-hour job. Like, I don't know if my husband would have to bring her up and be like, okay, she's hungry. But basically, she stopped latching, and it kind of started hurting my feelings, and I started getting really sad about it, and I didn't want to get sad about it. And it wasn't postpartum depression. It was just, I was bummed out. I hadn't started harvesting colostrum beforehand. I was bummed out that she was latching just fine before, and now she's not. And now she screams at my boob, and she screams when I try to feed her. So I was like, I'll just start exclusively pumping. I got the Motif through my insurance. And I don't see that many people talking about the Motif, but I absolutely love it. I only use one per boob. So I do try to do the power pumping of 10 minutes on one boob, 10 minutes on the other boob. For some reason, it doesn't work as well when I try to do both boobs at the same time. So I just use one. I also didn't know about power pumping, and I also didn't know about the routine of you have to pump every when they're first born, 2 to 3 hours, but now it's still every 3 to 4 that I have to pump because I'll get engorged, it gets painful, and if you don't, you'll have a drop in your supply. So that's the next fun part. I was not doing good at a pumping schedule, and my supply dropped a lot. So I had to try to build up my supply, and I got those little lactation cookies, which really helped. I eat bananas now, which help, and oat milk in my coffee, which helps as well. But I'm still not having the greatest time at pumping. I actually honestly hate it. I'm really happy that I'm providing the nutrition for her. That's why I wanted to breastfeed. To anyone who says it's less expensive, it probably is, because formula is pretty pricey. We do supplement with formula because, again, she got introduced not only to the bottle but to formula after they ran out of breast milk at the NICU. They started feeding her formula. So we have always supplemented in between times with formula. Exclusively pumping isn't as expensive because my insurance covered the pump. Coworkers gave me like freezer bags or containers to collect the milk and all that stuff. So it hasn't been that hefty, but I know if ever something happens to my pump, if something happens to my pump, I'm just gonna use that as que sera, what will be, and we'll go formula, because I honestly have lost my damn mind with it. Being on that schedule, like I was saying on my Snapchat today, if it's 9 o'clock at night, I feel obligated to just stay up till midnight so I can pump again. And then if I stay up to midnight, I might as well stay up to 3 to pump again. And then maybe I can take a quick nap, but I need to make sure I can get up at 6 to pump again. And it's making me lose my mind. Even before I went back to work. I'm back to work full time. It's even harder because it's more frustrating. Yes, I love the 30 minutes away in a room all by myself so I can eat my lunch and pump in peace. And I'm so thankful that they have that at my work. But I'm also wanting to be a power groomer right now. Meaning I want to go back and do, the most I've ever groomed has been 8 dogs a day. And my goal is to be where my best friend was at, where probably still is. She's probably still out there kicking ass and doing like 12 to 15 dogs a day. But she's allowed to do bath dogs as well. So with the company I'm at, that's not a thing. It's really freaking weird. But yeah, but to do as many dogs as possible, groom as many dogs as possible, efficiently, safely, all that stuff. But it's hard when it's like, even on slow days, it's like I have 4 dogs. So I have to prep, bathe, prep, finish the first 2, then go pump, try to eat a lunch. And it's been fine. But one day when I had a full book and certain pet parents wanted their dogs out early, wanted to drop off early, wanted to screw with my whole freaking schedule. Like, I'm not only on a grooming schedule now, I'm on a pumping schedule. And I was an hour and a half behind on pumping. My boobs are engorged. I think I was leaking. I was in a lot of pain. And it's like, I want my dog out soon. Fuck you. Sorry. It's hard not to say, just fuck you. Just like, okay, sure. Sure thing there, Nancy. Felicia, whatever you want to call her. Like, okay, yeah, white flag. I really want to throw up the white flag to pumping. I don't have many people to ask help from either. Like, sorry, just sometimes it's such a lonely feeling because it's like, it's a lot like my film stuff that I'm trying to do on YouTube just so I can talk to people about film, because in real life I don't have that many people to talk to and nerd out with, and it feels kind of isolated that way in exclusively pumping, because I can't ask help from my mom or my sister because their advice is, well, I didn't do that. And to other women around me that have tried, they're like, well, you're doing it longer than we ever did. So go you. Don't feel bad about giving up because you've gone longer than they would have, but that doesn't help the fact that I still feel guilty. I feel like I'm being driven crazy doing it. But anytime I'm like, I'm done, I'm over it, I can't do it anymore, it just makes me feel guilty. And I know that is best. And it's like, but it's like with the birth. I was like, I want to do as natural as possible, but if I have to have an epidural or cesarean, sure. And when that happened, I was fine. It didn't hurt my feelings. I was like, fine, okie dokie. But with breastfeeding, it's honestly just a mental game. All in all, it's just so frustrating for me because it's like I want to provide for her. I want to do this. I'm proud of myself, and it's that high-low. It's the most bipolar I've felt since, honestly, my eating issues. Where it's like, I'm so proud of myself to provide for her. I know it'd be so easy to just stop, but something in me just like beats myself up like, well, that's selfish to just give up, and it's selfish to do that, and it'd be more expensive to do formula. But then again, at the same time, think about your mental health and take care of you, and that's just been the number one challenge, has been breastfeeding in general. Even when she was latching, okay, I always just felt like, even though I felt happy, I'm like, oh good, we're having this moment, she would look at me, everything was great. This instant she would stop and she would unlatch, I just felt depressed. I just felt sad. And I feel like any form of postpartum depression is all related to feeding her. All of it. Like, it's just... Because again, even when we're like, okay, we're going to start going to formula because it looks like it's hard for you, it looks like it's stressful for you. I just don't know how I'm going to feel going from it. Because I like the exclusive pumping journey because it's a part of it's a game. Part of it's like, okay, how much can I make today? Wow, look how much I make. Every time I feel like I'm gonna give up, my body's like, oh, you're gonna give up? Here's even more milk. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. But then when I can't give up and I can't create a freezer stash and I can't anything like that, it's just been the most bipolar situation that I've had. I'm still going through it, honestly. We're still feeding her. I'm still able to keep up. But it's still a challenge. She has her appointment tomorrow, and I might talk to her pediatrician about when we're able to start feeding her like purees and stuff like that, and maybe she won't need as much milk as, I don't know the next steps, but it's like I need a break in some way, but I don't want to feel like a failure. And no one's telling me I'm a failure. No one's telling me that. Everyone's saying that I've done an amazing job, but I beat myself up the most. And for some reason, again with the birthing, I didn't beat myself up. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, she's happy, she's healthy. And I know with formula, she's happy, healthy. I know it's nothing about like, oh, I don't want her to have formula, or I think formula is so bad. No, I don't care. I really don't care. But it's how proud. When it's high, it's high. I feel so proud I'm able to provide for her. I'm so proud I can keep up with pumping for her. But when it's low, and I can't supply a full day's amount for her, or when I get behind, I get engorged, or I miss a pumping session, or I have to sacrifice another priority just because I have to go fucking pump again. Like, it's hard for me. I don't know if it's this hard for everybody else. I've watched so many videos about women exclusively pumping, and oh my god, that whole quote, never cry over spilled milk, when you are literally like a cow that has provided this milk for your kid. If I drop formula, sure, whatevs. But if I spill my milk, there was a day I lost it in front of my sister and my husband. I spilled just a little bit and I lost it. I bawled my eyes out because it was just so exhausting. And it's not like I'm like an overproducer that's like, oh, that's just a little spilled milk. I'll make that up tonight. Like, it's like, no, that could have been like a meal for her. That's been the hardest part is the pumping stuff. And breastfeeding in general, it's really hard. Now, I remember I was talking to my sister's fiance's sister who had a baby a month before she was born, and she's exclusively breastfeeding. She's a stay-at-home mom. And when I told her I was pumping, she's like, "You're sure?" And I think that's the hard part, is everyone's like, "Well, go you." And it's like, I'm not going though, that's the thing. It's not easy. I'm sorry I'm crying so much. It's like, oh, I'll watch this happy video and see her happy experience. But when it comes to breastfeeding, pumping, that part for me has not been happy. It can be happy, it has its happy moments, but it's been the hardest part. We're moving on to a happier topic, which is her sleep schedule, which I am happy to report and very thankful to report. She is a great sleeper. Since 7 weeks old, cross your fingers, and I know that it can change. She's 4 months now, and I know they go through a sleep regression at 4 months. But since 7 weeks old, she has slept from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. It's been amazing. Now, she's kind of had a little bit of a regression where she will like wake up at 3 or 4. We'll feed her, and then she'll sleep until, again, she wakes up. But that's only been like a couple of nights. But usually she sleeps completely through the night. We make a supplement bottle of formula in case she gets up at night. But for the most part, it's just her morning formula, her morning bottle now. So the morning one is in blue, the formula is in blue, and then breast milk is in the pink bottles. These at first were really difficult for me to like because if you fill them past the 8 ounce limit, it can leak. But I do like how it has the, I can open this because it's empty, but the colic, whoops. I like how it has this, so, because before she was getting super gassy and colicky because we were feeding her with the normal bottle that didn't have that drainage there. So with that, she has not had stomach issues or colic or anything like that. And she's done really great with, she eats fine, she sleeps great. Like, she has been such a happy, healthy little girl. Look at her hair. I'm just going to brag on her for a little bit, but her hair has gotten so long. She's beginning to get, kind of in a way, bangs right there. Now, she does have a little bald spot on the back of her little head right there. Yeah, don't you? Yeah, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. She's smiling. She's happy. She's starting to laugh. Ow. She's starting to hit too. Thank you. She loves Coco Melon, which I know it can drive you up the wall to listen to Coco Melon all day, every day. But I like how it's interactive. She tries to sing along. Obviously, she can't sing. Words, we've kind of noticed she's beginning to try to say, I love you. She was saying for a while. I would say, I love you. And she'd be like, oh, and stuff. But she's really not talking anymore. And I think that's because she's found her laugh. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. What are we going to do about it? Oh, her name is, by the way, Rainey Garnett Ray. And the story of that is my husband, Twitch account, YouTube account, and a lot of stuff like that is Rainsomnia. He loves the ambiance of rain, and he has insomnia. And it wasn't until, goodness, what? Goodness, what? What? What is it? What's over there? It wasn't until a dog I was grooming at work just came in for nail trim. Her name was Rain. And I was like, she was not liking her nails done. So I was like, it's okay, it's okay. Just calm down, Rainy, calm down. And I was like, what a cute name. And I was like, I'm going to pitch this name. Because her name at first was going to be Garnett, which is her middle name. But I'm like, I'm going to pitch this last name, Jeff, and see what he thinks. And I was like, what do you think about Rainy? And I was like, I know we already picked her name. And he picked her name. What do you think of the name Rainy? And he actually liked it, so. I had the diaper change. Now we're good. She's so cute. Feeling better. I don't know where she's getting at. Sounds more like a pterodactyl. So, I'm going to try to wrap it up. I'll have this video be if you guys want to ask me more questions, more specific questions about her. And and hubby. He is going on a trip to his hometown with his friends because things are a little difficult sometimes there is tension between us because he stays at home with her during the day as I go work for 8 hours. And that's, again, where pumping is frustrating because I'll go to work for 8 hours and then I'll come home and I'll be like, oh, I have to pump. And he's like, the fuck? Like, I just took care of her for 8 hours. Like, I do have the wearable pumps, the mom cozies, but they're not as strong as the others. And with me not being an overproducer, I can't just give just a little bit. I need a full session's worth of a good pump. So I've started pumping when I'm still at work before I get home. But then it's like she's going to bed and I'm tired. She's tired. And I just feel like also to give up pumping, I would have more time with her, more time with my dogs, more time with my husband, just more time to give. Because it's like, okay, I'm just going to prepare a bottle of formula. There you go. Happy go lucky. And it's not, sorry, I have to be hooked up to a pump. Get frustrated if you start getting frustrated, if he starts getting frustrated, if the dogs start getting frustrated, all that. So the dogs have been really well. I'm a little saddened with my Anatolian Shepherd with the baby. We introduced them all the day that she came home. If that's not a sign to wrap up the video, the battery pack just died, so, in my camera. So, yeah, I'm on Snapchat, it's a filter, so what? Anyway, but if you guys have any questions, oh yeah, about the dogs. Basically, I have 3. I really thought the Anatolian back there would be like very motherly because she's very motherly to my little Chihuahua toy poodle mix. Yeah, she does not care for Rainy. They're all in their kennels. We introduced them one by one, and she didn't even sniff her. She like looked at her and walked away. This little kiddo has been the best, and it's funny. This is Andy. And I really thought Andy was going to be like territorial and like no to baby Rainey, but he is like, I love her. As you see, like she usually sits in this little chair and watches Coco Melon, and he always is so close by. He just wants to make sure everything is okay and that she's fine. And if she gets upset, he comes and finds Jeff or I, like, baby's upset, guys, like, let's do something. And Leo is indifferent. He's the one who's like, eh. He'll go up to her, but like not stay interested for a while. But there you guys go. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, well, not concerns, I don't care. Concerns about me, I am reaching out to a doctor. Eventually, I kind of have told people I have, but at first they thought it was post-menstrual disorder because I was beginning to feel very paranoid all this month, this January, all this month. But now that cycle, I did have my first cycle in only 2 days, but the bloodiest 2 days I've ever seen in my life. And, but now that it's come and gone and I'm still paranoid and even sadder than normal, I do think it's time I need to reach out. But any questions or comments, please let me know. Any baby questions you guys have. If you want me to do a follow-up on baby and I. Oh, she fell asleep finally. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Let me know if you guys like my baby content. If you want to still see more 2024 film reviews, or I have most fun in, that's where I'll see you next. So, I'll see you guys soon.
Okay, say hi, Mama. Say hi, Mama. Oh, she's so cute. She says, oh, I like being center of attention. Yes, I do. Oh, I think that's perfect, Mama. Yeah, do you think that's perfect, Mama? Yeah. Oh, she's so happy.